I shouldn't have gone inside. The house had been sitting at the end of our old neighborhood for as long as I could remember. Always abandoned. Always wrong. It wasn't on any maps, and no one ever mentioned it, as if their minds refused to acknowledge it existed. One evening, I made the mistake of crossing its threshold. At first, it was just another empty house. Dust-covered floors, peeling wallpaper, the smell of mildew thick in the air. But when I turned to leave, something had changed. The doorway I had walked through was gone. In its place, a long hallway stretched into darkness. I told myself I was imagining things, that the house had always been like this. But as I moved forward, more things changed. Walls shifted, doors appeared where they shouldn't be. It was subtle at first, just a trick of the light. Then it became impossible to ignore. The house was moving, and worse, it was watching me. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my pulse under control. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Maybe I had misremembered the layout, or maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. Houses didn't just change, walls didn't move, hallways didn't appear where doors used to be. And yet, here I was, standing in a place that no longer matched my memory. My chest tightened, a slow-building panic threatening to take hold. I swallowed it down. I needed to stay calm. I turned back, hoping I'd find my way out. But the entrance was gone, just a blank wall where the door used to be. My fingers traced along the surface, pressing against the wallpaper, searching for any sign that a doorway had been there. Nothing. Just cold, solid wood beneath my fingertips. My breathing turned shallow. Panic clawed at my throat, but I forced myself to move. If there was a way in, there had to be a way out. I stepped into the hallway, the wooden floor creaking beneath me. The sound seemed too loud, echoing unnaturally through the empty space. I took another step, then another, the weight of silence pressing against me. The wall seemed closer, like the space had shrunk just slightly, enough for my mind to question whether I had imagined it, or if the house was subtly closing in around me. The air grew heavy, thick like it was pressing against my skin. The temperature had dropped, but not in a normal way. This wasn't just cold, it was something deeper, something unnatural, seeping into my bones. I rubbed my arms, trying to shake the sensation. Every so often, I caught glimpses of movement out of the corner of my eye. At first, I told myself it was nothing, a shadow shifting because of my own movement, or maybe just a trick of my nerves. But then, I noticed the doors. They were appearing. Some of them hadn't been there when I first walked by. Others had disappeared completely. I would pass an empty wall, and when I glanced back, a door stood in its place, old, wooden, some slightly ajar as if waiting for me to look inside. The air inside them was darker than it should have been, like the rooms beyond were filled with something deeper than shadows. I tried not to look. I kept going, my footsteps growing quicker. I needed to find a window, a staircase, anything that led outside. But the deeper I went, the stranger things became. The furniture should have been rotting, covered in dust, broken by time. But some pieces looked untouched, as if someone had been living here, arranging the space to their liking. A wooden chair in the hallway sat at a perfect angle, as if someone had just been sitting there moments before I arrived. A grandfather clock that should have been silent let out a low, hollow tick, 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 even though its hands never moved. The paintings on the walls changed when I wasn't looking. At first, they were blank canvases, cracked and faded from years of neglect. But as I passed them, I caught glimpses of something shifting, faces forming, eyes that hadn't been there before, wide and staring. I turned away quickly, but the feeling lingered, that oppressive sensation of being watched. And then I heard it, a soft click behind me, like a door unlocking. I turned slowly, my stomach twisting into knots. At the end of the hall, a door had appeared. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. The wood was smooth, untouched by dust or decay. It stood slightly ajar, revealing a sliver of pitch-black darkness waiting beyond. I should have walked away. I should have run. But I didn't. I stepped inside. The moment I crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind me. The room was small, too small. The walls were bare, The only piece of furniture, a wooden chair in the center, and yet I wasn't alone. I felt it before I saw it. A presence. Something watching. I turned my head ever so slightly, my breath hitching in my throat. In the corner of the room, a figure stood perfectly still. Its body was too tall, too thin, its arms stretching unnaturally long. It had no face, just a smooth, pale surface where its features should have been. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The silence was suffocating. And then, it twitched. Not a normal movement. Not something a person would do. It was sudden, jerky, like something struggling to understand how a human body should move. The air turned ice cold. I reached for the door, fumbling with the knob. It wouldn't turn. Behind me, I heard the sound of something dragging across the floor. Slow, deliberate. Getting closer. I squeezed my eyes shut, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. I didn't want to see it. I couldn't see it. And then, the doorknob turned on its own. The door opened. I didn't wait. I ran. I stumbled through the doorway, slamming it shut behind me. I expected to find myself back in the hallway, but I wasn't. The house had changed again. The walls stretched impossibly high. The ceiling lost in shadows. The floor was different too, smooth, reflective, like black glass. My reflection stared back at me, but it wasn't right. It was slightly delayed, moving a fraction of a second too late. And then it smiled. I didn't. I took a shaky step back. My reflection stayed still. Then, slowly, it raised a hand and pointed behind me. I didn't want to turn around, but I had to. The faceless figure was there, inches away. It tilted its head, its body jerking like a puppet on broken strings. Then, it spoke. Not out loud, not in words, but inside my head, like a thought that wasn't mine. You belong here now. The lights flickered, the walls trembled, and suddenly, the house wasn't falling apart anymore. It was new, rebuilding itself around me. I don't remember how I got out. 1 second, I was inside. The next, I was outside, standing on the overgrown lawn, gasping for air. The house was silent, still, as if nothing had happened. I turned to run, to get as far away as possible, but as I did, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The front door, it was open, waiting, inviting, and from the darkness within, I swore I saw my reflection staring back at me, smiling,